start with Saints Bucks. So Saints Bills, excuse me. That will be tomorrow night, Thanksgiving night on NBC. I guess a Thursday night football technically. Bucks, the line is ballooned, Mario. They are now up to a 6.5-point favorite. When we sat in these chairs yesterday, it was only 4.5. So that's gone up 2 whole points. The total still relatively low, 45.5. I think most expect a pretty low-scoring game. In this one, of course, New Orleans, we know they've lost 3 in a row. The Bucks have lost 2 out of their last 3, but have also lost. They're also 2-3 in their last 5. They started 5-1. They've kind of hit the skids, and in there are some ugly losses. Obviously, if you lose to the Jaguars, that's not good in general, but that was a 9-6 game. I mean, that was just ugly. You only managed 6 points against the Jaguars defense that had gotten shredded all year long. And then, of course, last week, we know what happened when they went up against Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor kind of single-handedly beat the Buffalo Bills, and that was just an absolute rout. There's been some turnover issues with Josh Allen over the past couple of weeks. This is one, obviously, on paper, especially looking at the Saints injury report, which just continues to not be promising, you don't really see how they have a shot. But then you look at how the Bills have played recently, and you say, okay, I mean, are the Saints better than Jacksonville? Yeah. Okay, well, Jacksonville didn't even play their best game of the season and were able to come up and bite the Bills. You also look at the Saints' track record this year so far. Well, they beat the hell out of the Packers. They beat the Patriots, who are arguably the hottest team in the NFL right now. They beat the Bucks. They've lost to, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Giants. This is kind of the team that they beat. So it's a really interesting game, not only on paper, but on the field, which I know we'll dive into as well.
I would agree with your last sentiment, and I would say that it's time for the yo-yo to go back up, especially with the Saints being at home in prime time, Sean Payton being undefeated, 3-0 on Thanksgiving Day. But unfortunately, the biggest angle from the New Orleans point of view, unfortunately, is how banged up this team was. We went over the injury report yesterday, 9 more names. Some bad news, but some encouraging news as well. Musso did not practice. Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Davenport, not good. Tano Passanio, and Mark Ingram, really not good. But Teron Armstead was back, at least in a limited capacity, yesterday. And Taysom Hill practiced in full yesterday, as did Trevor Siemian, who is on the injury report with a right hand injury, but it looks like he's good. And Ty Montgomery is back at practice. And having him back is huge when you're so short on bodies. But the key to the game, Musso, is going to be the Saints starting faster. You cannot keep getting off to these slow starts and having to come back in the end, especially not against a team like Buffalo in a game that you have to get on a 3-game losing streak.
You mentioned Trevor Siemian, and we kind of hypothesized earlier in the week with Taysom Hill being a full participant on Monday, would they pull the trigger now, even on a short week, and have him be the starting quarterback after kind of what you've seen from the first 3 outings there from Trevor Siemian? Like you said, slow starts, coming back late. Trevor Siemian met with the media yesterday, which kind of leads me to believe that he's probably going to start at quarterback. But he also did talk about needing to be sharper earlier on in the football game.
For me, I just got to play better in the first half specifically. I don't want to overanalyze it. I just got to play better, and I'm not going to press or anything. But there's a couple plays here and there that I got to do a better job on early and put us in a position to play fast early on in the ball game.
Trevor Siemian's first halves in his last 3 starts against Atlanta: 5 of 12 for 34 yards. Against the Titans, 10 of 16 for 133 and a touchdown. And last week against Philly, 6 of 17, 60 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. You add that all together, you get 21 of 45, so less than 50%, 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Yeah, that's just not going to cut it. And even though the Saints have a really good defense that got exposed a little bit last week, but that could be an outlier. Even though they have a really good defense, when you're just not being productive at all on offense, you're going to always find yourself in a hole.
Yeah, I'll see your Trevor Siemian stats and raise you some more Trevor Siemian stats to speak to this point. Because if you look at when the Saints are trailing in games with less than 4 minutes remaining since Siemian took over as the starter, in that time frame, he's completed 19 out of 25 passes, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's really good, but that's in garbage time. Then if you look at his quarterback rating by quarter, his QB rating in the first quarter, 33.8. In the second quarter, 86.5. Third quarter, 67.9. And in the fourth, it balloons to 121.5 when you're pretty much in garbage time. So you had to start faster. Mark Ingram's been playing really well the last couple of weeks in place of Alvin Kamara. We'll see what the deal is with the running back rotation. But if you could at least get Teron Armstead, I think the running game will be that much better just having him back. And then on the other side of the football, Musso, I think the biggest key to this game will be the matchup of Marshawn Lattimore and Stephon Diggs. Because unfortunately, Diggs has given Marshawn problems throughout his career. And this is the first time they're ever facing off with Diggs as a member of the Bills and not of the Minnesota Vikings. But in 3 out of the first 4 matchups between Lattimore and Diggs has had 6 or more catches and over 90 receiving yards in 3 out of those 4 meetings. So this is going to be the first time he plays against them with the Bills. They do have Emmanuel Sanders who's making his return to the Superdome. But the key to this game is going to be shutting down or at least containing Stephon Diggs and forcing the Bills to continue to be one-dimensional. That's been their problem in the last couple of games. They haven't really gotten their running game going consistently, and Josh Allen has done a really good job scrambling and kind of improvising. You could see that in his rushing numbers, but the Bills are also really careful with the design runs to Josh Allen because they're paying him a lot of money and they do not want him to get injured. So the way I look at it right now, this is going to kind of be a battle between 2 one-dimensional teams, and whoever does not turn the ball over is going to have a really good chance to win. And if you look at the 3 games that the Saints won this season, the games that you mentioned, all against division winners, they did not turn the ball over in any of those games. But in the other games, they did struggle with turnovers, and obviously you saw that in the last couple of games against the Titans and against the Eagles. And when their defense takes the ball away at least twice, the Saints are 4-0 this season. So obviously turnover margin is always key. When you're as banged up as the Saints are, when you're as one-dimensional on offense as New Orleans is, turnovers become that much more of a premium. So that's going to be the stat of the game right there.
Turnovers are always important, and Sean Payton does always preach those pretty heavily. When talking final thoughts, when talking making a pick on this game, I'm just going to go back to the injury report because we could talk all we want about fast starts and all of that and Marshawn Lattimore versus Stephon Diggs, and all of that is very important. But what has hurt the Saints the most, and I think contributed to those slow starts, is they just haven't been anywhere close to healthy. We talked about it earlier in the week. No, Sean Payton doesn't want to use that as an excuse. And guess what? You don't have to use it as an excuse for it to actually matter, and it matters. Seeing Alvin Kamara still on the injury report, of course, leading into today. We don't have today's yet. Seeing Mark Ingram on there yesterday, that worries me about the running game. Ty Montgomery was a full participant. Tony Jones Jr., you did see him get into the game yesterday. On Sunday as well. They're getting a few guys back, but they're still missing just the biggest key guys. I don't know if I can pick the Saints to win this game outright, but I definitely like them to stay inside the number, especially at it now ballooning bigger than a touchdown at 6.5. I think it's a low-scoring game. I don't think the Bills are playing very well either right now. The numbers support that. Could they go out there and have a banner day against New Orleans who's scuffling as well? Sure, maybe they could. But the fact is, this was a team that was thought to be the favorite to win the Super Bowl less than a month ago, and now everyone's kind of scratching their head saying, man, what's the matter? You look at Josh Allen, who's had struggles with the turnovers. You just mentioned turnover margin. I think the Saints can get a couple. Is it enough for them to win the game? Can they hold on to the ball themselves? I'm not sure, but I do like them to cover the 6.5 points at home. Emotional night, Drew Brees being honored, Thanksgiving, holiday, short week, all of those things. But I think the Bills do end up getting the victory.
I'm with you. I think the Saints defense is going to have some success here. Maybe they can take the ball away a couple of times. You look at the last 3 games for Josh Allen, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2 of those games coming against the Jets and the Jaguars. Obviously, the Saints are a much better quality of defense. And for the Bills, you have to stop their rushing game because in all their losses, Musso, 4 losses this season, they failed to reach 120 rushing yards and at least 1 rushing touchdown. All that being said, I do agree with you. I think the Saints are just missing a little bit too much. I think Stephon Diggs is going to make some plays against Marshawn Lattimore. I think Emmanuel Sanders is also a really good complementary receivers, and they're going to make a couple more plays than Trevor Siemian and the Saints wide receiver corps can make, in my opinion. So for those reasons, I do agree with you. I think the Bills win, but New Orleans does cover. If I had to give a score prediction, I would say 17-13 Buffalo, but it's an exciting game, and Drew Brees' return to the Superdome.
Yeah.